Welcome to the world of research. In this video, we are going to learn about Pakistan's kinetic and non-kinetic responses to terrorism. Pakistan's counterterrorism mix represents a fine combination of kinetic and non-kinetic means. Besides the use of military, intelligence, and police force, the state has also employed de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and counter-narrative campaigns to counter extremism in its violent and non-violent manifestations. Here, we are going to apply multi-level analysis that is extracted from Muqaddam's seminal work on suicide terrorism. Evolution of this method is from Kenneth Ward's Man, State, and the War. Muqaddam modified the level of analysis in order to apply them on terrorism and counterterrorism studies. However, the individual level was retained as the individual level. The state level was replaced with organizational level, and the system level has been replaced by the environmental level. So moving on to the first level of analysis, the individual level. The prevalence of tendencies for violent extremism are examined by investigating psychological motivations for terrorism. Set of motivations include ranging from misinterpretations of religion, need for revenge, a distorted sense of identity, seeking a sense of glory, or even the financial incentives. Second level of analysis, the organizational level. Motivation for terrorist organizations in that their political goals can be more efficiently achieved using violence. Terrorist organizations may perpetrate violence for various goals, including gaining recognition, damaging the adversary physically and morally, gaining popularity among its audience, creating discipline and fear within its own ranks. The third level of analysis, environmental level. Political, cultural martyrdom in both religious and secular culture. Religious perpetration as a religious obligation to motivate for violence as in case of ISIS, and economic factors carry out terrorism for economic incentives or due to feeling of impoverishment. The individual and organizational motives for terrorism overlap with environmental factors, which result in the recruitment and commitment of terrorism by radicalized individuals. This prompts a response from government, media, and even external actors at times. The reaction may then either reinforce the environment to become more conducive for motivating terrorism or change the environment in favor of discouraging both organizations and individuals from resorting to violence. According to Rohan Gautra, hard counterterrorism includes countering terrorism on tactical and operational level. In contrast, soft counterterrorism includes countering terrorism on strategic level by using de-radicalization and counter-violent extremism programs. Kinetic measures. Hard counterterrorism includes adopting kinetic measures like killing and capturing of terrorists in military and law enforcement operations. Even though using kinetic measures can disrupt the operational capabilities of terrorist groups, yet it fails to provide a lasting solution. Studies establish that counterinsurgency and counterterrorism is 20% military, hardcore, and 80% political, softcore. Political, non-coercive, and non-kinetic measures, including de-radicalization, rehabilitation, transformation, and counter-narrative, fall under the broader category of political or soft counterterrorism component. Military operations. 2002. Operation Al-Mizan was the first counterterrorism operation launched in Waziristan and engaged members of Al-Qaeda and other militants. October 2007. Operation Rahe-Haq was the first Battle of Sawat and was fought between the army and Taliban for the control of the region. January 2008. Operation Zilzala was launched by the Pakistan Army in South Waziristan against Tehreek-e-Taliban leader Baitullah Masood. June 2008. Operation Sirat-e-Mustaqim was a counter-offensive by the army engaged the militant group. 2008. Operation Sher-e-Dil was launched by the army in Bajour agency against the Taliban. May 2009. Operation Rah-e-Rast is the second battle of Swat was loyal to engage the Pakistani Taliban by the army for the control of the area. June 2009. Operation Rah-e-Nijat was a strategic counterterrorism operation launched by the Pakistan Army in Fata against TTP, the Haqqani Network, and other militant groups. October 2009. Operation Black Thunderstorm was a military operation carried out by the army to gain back control in Bunair, Lower Dil, Swat, and Shangla from TTP. November 2009. Operation Barefna was launched by the military in Muhammad agency against the TTP. June 2011. Operation Koh-e-Safed was launched in Kurram agency by the military in response to an escalation of Taliban attacks on passenger vehicles. June 2014. Zarb-e-Azab is a joint military offensive was launched in North Waziristan against the TTP, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, Al-Qaeda, Lashkar-e-Jangli, and other militant groups. Once terrorism is identified as a multi-causal phenomenon, it also demands a multi-level approach to counter-terrorism that dissects root causes and recommends remedies specifically tailored for each level. These approaches include rehabilitation on an individual level, organizational transformation on an organizational level, and building a counter-narrative on environmental level. Non-kinetic responses to terrorism. Individual level rehabilitation. De-radicalization and emancipation program started after 2009 in the aftermath of Operation Rah-e-Rast in Swat. Initially, the program contained a number of initiatives including Mishal, Sabaun, Rastoon, Feast, and Sparley in collaboration between military and non-governmental organizations. However, later on, only Mishal was retained as the permanent de-radicalization and emancipation program managed exclusively by the military. Punjab Rehabilitation Program by Counterterrorism Department, where 30k loan, approximately it was a project of 9.33 million, and Punjab government, there were two separate de-radicalization and emancipation programs under the name of Navi Seher in Bajour agency and Khyber program in Khyber agency, also being operated by the military. For ethno-nationalist insurgents in Balochistan, prominent programs include Darpesh, initially named as Umid-e-Naw, at EME Center, Quetta, and a separate program at FC Public School in Kohlu. Established in 2018, Darpesh, a Balochi word, literally translates into life. De-radicalization and emancipation program does not have blood on hands. This phase includes lecture by khatibs and former militants to the participants. After counseling and vocational training is also imparted to the participants to make them self-sufficient in living. Assessment of individuals and family involvement post-release, low economic status, large families, history of physical abuse, strict and negligent behavior of elders, and lack of education, lack of critical thinking, emotional instability, and revenge-seeking and authority-seeking behavior was also observed among the former terrorists interviewed. Organizational level transformation. Organizations divided into different groups: ethno-nationalist, nationalist, and separatist groups including Baloch Republican Army, Baloch Liberation Army, Baloch Liberation Front, Sindhu Desh Liberation Army, and Sindhu Desh Liberation Front, and religious nationalist. Transformation of Jamaat-ud-Dawa in 2017 in the form of a political party called as Mini Muslim League faced difficulty because of various reasons. The Jamaat-ud-Dawa did not take into account any stakeholders or actors at internal and external level in its attempt at mainstreaming internal recognition by political parties and the Election Commission of Pakistan. Externally, the United States of America considered it as an attempt to circumvent sanctions. Another rationale is that once the parties enter mainstream political process, they will force to change their stance from radical to moderate in order to appeal to a greater audience for securing votes. Let the nation decide their fate. Environmental level. Counter-narrative. Three key types of narratives are there: collective, ontological, and public narrative. Collective narratives are those which evolve organically in a society with the passage of time without any author or messenger. Ontological narratives are those told by ordinary people. Ontological narratives have an author and only become collective narrative in society if they are widely accepted. Public narratives are those which are specifically constructed by any actor, governments, media, clergy, organizations. Public narrative built upon the collective narratives have more chances to be accepted widely. Counter-narratives are usually public narratives created and endorsed by the state. Counter-narratives also act against terrorism on all levels. However, its impact is most prominently seen on the environmental level. The public narrative before the general audience was constructed through media and songs highlighting the efforts of armed forces. Most of such narrative was constructed and led by Inter-Services Public Relations, the media wing of Pakistan's military. According to the experts, there are 35 different dramas, movies, songs, and documentaries made and released by ISPR until 2019 to counter extremist narrative. These were not all well received as the target audience saw military patronized media with suspicion. The religious clergy also supported efforts in building counter-narrative against terrorism in Pakistan. In 2010, Dr. Tahirul Qadri wrote a 600-page long document in which he denounced violent extremism carried out by different groups in the name of Islam. Later, in 2016, the Pakistan Ulama Council, led by Hafiz Tahir Ashrafi, issued a fatwa religious ruling declaring a number of organizations as terrorist. Perhaps the most comprehensive narrative building was carried out in Paigam-e-Pakistan, a fatwa written and endorsed by religious scholars from all sects of Pakistan and approved by the President of Pakistan. It logically refuted violent terrorism, clarified the term jihad, and emphasized upon concepts like social harmony, spirit of forgiveness, and maintenance of social order. The document also represented consensus of all sects that the Constitution and state of Pakistan were not in contradiction to Islam. The counter-narrative in formative phase is not bearing fruit because of multiple reasons. First, the messengers or actors constructing the public narrative were questionable for the intended audience. Secondly, the message, even if correct, could not effectively reach the intended audience. For instance, the violent extremists and terrorists. Lastly, any counter-narrative effort also has to be accompanied with actual development of material means in order to alter the environment on economic, political, and social level as well. Successful counter-narratives need to consist of authentic messengers with appeal for the audience, acceptable and understandable medium, and identification of the correct audience to deliver the narrative. Conclusion. Beneficial for the state. From 2000 in 2009 to 319 attacks in 2020. But the threat is not over yet. The state needs to sustain its non-kinetic interventions rigorously. De-radicalization centers in erstwhile FATA, Swat, South Punjab, and Balochistan must be supported with all legal, financial, and logistical means. An external audit of these facilities by subject matter experts can add value and transparency to these initiatives. On transformation of Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Islamabad may consider learning from global best practices in the DDR domain: disarmament, de-radicalization, and rehabilitation. By involving key stakeholders such as UN, US, China, and Saudi Arabia, efforts to counter militants' narrative must go beyond Paigam-e-Pakistan by encouraging healthy, scholarly debate on the document. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting and informative videos. Thank you. Good luck with your research.